continuous assessment will be under me. 40 marks for your final will be under me. But in terms of the question, okay, in terms of the question, final exam questions, I will be sharing maybe half with her. I'll be sharing half with her and half from my own. I'm submitting the questions by tomorrow. Actually, she had already submitted the question, but I'm asking for review. I'm asking for adjustments. Okay, I'm asking for adjustments. So that means your final exam will be a combination between her questions and my questions, right? And then as for your 20 marks, now this is actually what we need to talk about today. If you see here, based on the synopsis, she just simply put there writing business plan, right? Some of those pitching, some of those presentation plans were originally from me. Because before she came back, I was running the course. When she came back, I trained her to run the course. And now I think it's better, because it's better for me to ask her for her permission to take everything back. So I'll take everything back. I'll run it like what I used to do. Okay, like what I used to do. Which means, she has already asked you to do business canvas, right?
Yes.
And it's supposed to be submitted as part of the evaluation. Yes? No? Yes. Okay, that's one. Second thing, your pitching is supposedly for that business canvas, correct? How far and how much have you been doing? How much have you done?
Nothing.
Okay.
Yes.
I will do it this way then. So far, what type of businesses did she ask you to do? I mean, I know last week you told me that there's actually no limit, as long as it's in veterinary area, right?
Clinic.
Clinics only. Okay, I'm opening up for you to do others as well. Because otherwise, that's why I said, I need to know how much you have been doing. It will be unfair, totally unfair, if let's say I were to tell you now and then only then you switch your plan. I don't like that as well. As a student, I don't like that as well. So you have to be very frank with me. What and how much have you been doing? Because otherwise, I will not switch. I will act on whatever that you already have, because your business plan, the written plan, is supposed to be submitted, right? Are you ready to submit in 2 weeks' time? So what is ready to be submitted? Canvas. Okay. So the canvas is going to be ready to be submitted. So if let's say we were to present and defend according to that business canvas, is that okay then? Then I'm going to divide it into two parts. Remember, there are 20 marks for your continuous assessment. So 10 will be for your business canvas, which you have been doing. And then another 10 will be for your VCF pitching, which I'm going to talk about next week, not this week. This week I need to finish decision economics. Okay? So today I'll be finishing decision economics, and then next week I'll be giving you instructions on how to do this VCF pitching. This VCF pitching, technically, you can get it ready and prepared within a few hours, if you know how to do it. Okay? You take it this way. Somebody said that pitching is something like how you advertise yourself. Okay? A classical example being used in books will be you like somebody, and then you need to choose the right time, the right place, and the right words to say to him, to her, right? Typically to her, not to him. Okay, sorry for the male chauvinistic view here, but I think that's our culture for the time being. So what happened is that, that pitching will follow certain rules. Certain approaches, which is something that I'm going to explain to you next week. So since we already got the business canvas, materials are ready, fine, no problem. You just submit later when the time comes, because that's actually as per what Dr. Noharani has already instructed you. So the VCF now will be a new one, which is actually an extension perhaps a slight modification of business canvas. And what I require from you to submit for the VCF pitching are only 6 slides. Only. 6 slides saja. 6 killer slides. 6 killer slides. Okay? 6 killer slides. Because the VCF comprised of elevator pitch, comprised of your opening and hook statement, your golden nugget, your plan, and maybe your closing summary. That's it. Okay? And I will take the time to explain to you, okay, by next week on what actually you need to do. So that's why I say, if you know how to do it, I've already given you all the ingredients, then you should be able to complete it within a few hours sahaja. And following that, what we're going to do is 10 marks for your business canvas, which you can submit anytime before the semester ends. 10 marks will be dedicated towards this last one, the seminar, towards the end. And this is actually where I need to find time with you. Next Thursday, I cannot run the class in the morning as well. I'll be going with a delegation to Kementerian Ekonomi. Okay, the Economics Ministry Affairs. You know that Tuan Rafizi just gave us 35 million, right? You don't know. Okay, never mind. So we are supposed to be there to follow up and to do certain things. That's why I say I may no longer be suited as a lecturer, as a research scientist. Okay, as a lecturer because I'm more and more like an administrator now. Some sort like a pegawai tagih diplomatic (PDD). The way I write things, the way I respond also lebih kurang macam tu lah. Okay. Now, so next Thursday morning, okay, I'm going to be able to run the class again. This morning, in fact, I was required at the visit, okay, by virtue of the position that I'm actually the director for UPM China program. That's all. They started a meeting, and then after that, I have to chair the rest of the session. Okay, and back to this one. Okay, back to this one. You go back, you look at what you have, and then you give me a date. Class rep, give me a date on when you can submit, comfortably submit business canvas, preferably not exceeding week 14. Kenapa? Lepas week 14, I cannot help you anymore because they shut down the system, right? Okay, comfortably that you can submit. Okay, comfortably that you can submit. I will expect something like maybe week 13 to 14 anyway. And then next week, I'll be talking about this one on the content, type of content included. Okay, so that settles your 20 marks for your continuous assessment, and then the other 40 marks for your final. Is that clear? Jelas kan? So sekarang ni, you dah tak perlu buat business plan dah. Okay, because part of it is being summarized and included in your VCF teaching. I would rather that you engage in a constructive VCF teaching rather than preparing documents. Right now, how many hours do you have? What are the routine semester plans? You are following rotation mostly, right? Yes. Okay, following rotation, and then suddenly shifts to veterinary business and so on and so forth. By right, this veterinary business should be something that is continuation of what you do in the clinic. For example, what you do in the clinic is actually just case management. But then you suddenly see that there's actually an efficiency in terms of process flow, cost, human interaction, everything else. Then it's supposed to be brought to this forum to be discussed. That was the original plan for the vet business. I knew because I was involved in the original conception of this type of plan. We are following models from several European universities, but along the way, this course becomes a course rather than a discussion forum, rather than something that is experiential. It becomes something just like a run-of-the-mill course. I don't want that. I intend to pull it back. The issue is, once I let go of the course, another person with a totally different view run it differently. Even though I train Dr. Noor Hadiani. But never mind, we'll see what we can do. Okay? Since now I'm given the reins again, so, but I do not know, maybe the next batch will be conducted differently. But for the first 5-6 batches, no issues at all. Okay, we've been doing that. Okay, so that is the original intent of that business. This is also why you see suddenly all your rota and then tiba-tiba you ada that business and
Proposal pay.
PBL. By right, this bad business and PBL supposed to serve as a reinforcement of whatever they have done over there, but from a different perspective. That's why last week you see what I talked to you about. Last week I talked to you about production theory. Production theory is about the profitability level of the farms, when and how do you harmonize management in terms of how long you need to keep the chicken, how big of a clinical operation that you can run versus what you've been doing in the clinic. So it's supposed to be a macro view of your veterinary operations. Today, we'll be looking at decision economics. Decision economics for a farm and decision economics in exercise simulation for a clinic. Whether to relocate, not relocate, and so on and so forth. On Tuesday, there was a council meeting, okay? MBC meeting. I hate to admit this, but I think I saw no less than 10 of my former students on the other side of the table. Remember in your year 2, I told you I don't want to see you on the other side of the table? Unfortunately, this time around, I have to see 10 of them. And we reprimanded maybe about 8 of them, ranging from compound notice to 1 to I think 3 suspension, 6 months. Okay, this is something that I don't enjoy to do, but it's necessary. One of them, quite a number of them, will be misleading advertisement, and I cannot disclose any other further details, and unethical competition for business. Remember, you are actually going to graduate later, going to step into the working world. There will be business interest, there will be profitability, there will be money. And that when all those mix, you get very, very complicated human relations. Okay? You get very, very complicated human relations. The meeting actually lasted from 10 o'clock to about 6:30. Okay, 6:30. I'm not really I'm an affiliate member of the disciplinary committee. I'm actually the chair of the QAC, the Qualifications and Accreditation Committee, who look at the degree and so on and so forth, give jurisprudence exam, this and that. But because of my background involving the drafting of the act and so on and so forth, I'm called in. Okay, I'm called in as well. Okay, I'm called in as well, so I become an affiliate member, so I have to advise on certain things. Okay, whether certain things ni, certain cases ni boleh dibuang kes ke, tak dibuang kes ke dan sebagainya. Whether the procedures are being followed or not. Okay, so these are the kind of things that, well, unfortunately we have to face. Okay, let's get real now. This is the time when you start to see in your year 5, particularly second semester, is actually when you start to realize who are your friends, who are your foes, who will backstab you. Yes, I'm serious. It's going to get worse. Because even for simple things, getting tips from lecturers. Notice that ke tidak? Dapat tips, seorang lagi jealous. Satu grup lagi jealous. Contoh macam rota group lah, ini dapat pendedahan lebih. All those kind of things are happening. So please, maintain that if you have not interacted with your classmates close enough, make sure you do that. Okay, sorry for digressing, but I need to mention that. Okay, I need to mention that. Now, so all those settled, now we go back to decision economics. This is the one that I want you to look at. Yeah? What is it?
The other 50%.
Test 1 and test 2? 10% each. No, never mind. That one can be adjusted. Don't worry.
Oh.
That one can be adjusted.
Adjust
The key thing is where the 60% is coming in from.
Oh, sorry.
Okay? Where the 60%? Did you do well for test 1 and test 2?
没有分别，就是改善。
What do you mean by okay lah?
听课和没有听课没有分别。
Okay lah, cukup makan. okay lah but very good but trying to be humble. Or okay lah, betul-betul okay lah. Okay. So that one can be adjusted, don't worry. You forgot, I do data science, right? You knew that one of my specialization is data science, right? That thing is nothing to miss. Okay. In short, okay, in short, for your VCF teaching, I want you to first read out what is NABC. You also notice that every time I give lecture, every time I tell things, I start with this principle. Needs, approach, benefits, competition. I always tell you, even from the day year 2, year 1, when I started to teach you, I always tell you what physiology is for. Why do you need to do it? Then only then we do it. Notice that? This is a typical type of approach that I normally use. Because in order to attract people's attention, you need to tell them, yes, this is important for you. If you don't do this, what will be the consequences like? Okay? Or at the very least, if they cannot see the link, you tell them where they are going to be useful later. They may get you, they may not get you. So that's why you see certain presentation by certain people or words being conveyed by certain people carry different impact. Because if you speak from NABC perspective, you speak from the listener's perspective. You'll be very, very selfish for most of us. We just want to blurt out whatever that is actually in our mind, in our heart, right? But you think the other side wanted to listen? Not necessarily. It will only listen, the other side will only listen to if, let's say, there's something for them. Let's be real lah. Do you think if, let's say, there's no marks assigned to this course, you'll be here? No, right? Yeah. Let's be real. As simple as that. So that means there's something in for everybody. There is a motivation for somebody. That's why you are here. And this is something that you need to understand. And this is also something that you need to incorporate in your client education. When you communicate with a client, if you just communicate from a professional perspective saying that this is this, everything on moral principle, it doesn't work. Trust me, it doesn't work. You need to tell them, okay, you do this, your animal will live. Or you do this, you will save future costs. As simple as that. Or you do this, you get in less trouble with the authorities or what. Then it becomes very clear why you need to do it. Okay? You notice that I'm very direct, right, in my approach? This is what I'm not forcing on you, but something that you can actually refer to. If let's say it's useful, do it. This approach is known as the NABC approach. You study the needs, but not your needs, the listener's needs. Why do they need to do it? Then, after that, approach. I'm sure all of you have presented a final project. Yes. And I'm sure that you notice one thing. You are ready to tell the world what you have done during your final project, but the world may not be ready to listen to you. Next thing you know, in that presentation room, ramai-ramai aja dengar. Bila tanya soalan, semua tak tahu apa nak tanya, except examiner aja. Kawan-kawan segan nak tanya. Nanti yang kena tanya kata, atalah ini cuba mengancam menyakat kat pula. Right? So these are the kind of things that you go through in life as well. You are ready to tell the world what you want to tell the world, but the world may not be ready for you. Unfortunately, it happens in a lot of places. So how do you address this? NABC. So when you say things, you should not say approach first. You say the need. Then only then, oh yeah, I need to listen to this. Then and only then you tell them, okay, in order to fulfill this need, what are the relevant approach? That's all. And all your approaches should not be too technical. Just like when you give client education, you say life cycle of their heartworm and this and that. You say that. You only say the important ones, mosquito lah, the dog lah, and that's all. Do you need to say the stages of the worm? No, you don't do that. You simplify things. Only tell the effective approach. You go online, look at YouTube, you see how they use NNBC to propose to other people. Okay? Actual proposal to propose to other people. Next will be benefits. Once you have the needs, you know the benefits. After the benefits, then, only then, competitive offerings or alternatives. Search NNBC. Very simple approach, but very, very difficult to refine. And to me, it is actually a very effective communication channel because it allows you to communicate your idea clearly. You don't have to say a lot of things, just communicate your ideas very, very clearly. What do you need to do and what do you need to do? Otherwise, you end up like certain lecturers and so on and so forth who focus on the notes. I don't like that as well. I've been a teacher's assessment as well, not only here at UPM but also at the ministry, to look at how, I know certain professors are very good at research, but when it comes to teaching, I would rather sit in the class. Okay? So not everybody can deliver this, but you work on your strength. But importantly for vets, you need to have very clear client education, client communication. Because in a few cases that we reviewed, 2 or 3 of them are actually miscommunication. Miscommunication between client expectation and what the vets are actually saying. Resulted in a report to council. I don't want you to face that. That one, if we find technical fault, we just dismiss it because we need to protect our vets as well. But if let's say there are elements of negligence, we can't do anything. Okay? So look at this. Look at NNBC. This is the one that I want you to see. That's all. I'll explain further in the upcoming lecture. Now, decision economics. Okay, I have seen that Dr. Yani has already covered partial budgets. What do you understand from partial budgets? And why do you call it partial budgets? Why do you call it? Why don't you just simply call it budget? Why do you call it partial budgets? What do you call it? What do you use partial budgets for? And what do you call it partial budgets? Dah lepas kuliah dengan dia kan? I see your notes already. Why alternatives? Actually, it's like this. Let's say you have been staying in Sri Sedang, coming to UPM. And let's say your original hometown is just nearby, maybe Shah Alam. Okay? Let's say your hometown is Shah Alam. And then, right now you're staying in Sri Sedang. You're already in year 5. And then you're coming to study in UPM, that program. At one point, you will ask yourself, should I still continue to stay in Sri Sedang? Away from comfort of home where everything is taken care of me? Or I can just go back home and commute directly daily from Shah Alam to UPM. Right? Katakanlah. So, what are your key considerations? Yeah, money, time, distance that you need to travel, safety, and all kinds of things. Partial budget is actually a structured way to do a SWOT analysis of all this. That's it. And it focuses on these 4 things. It focuses on 2 elements. So that means the partial budget approach that's been taught can be used to systematically analyze and put problems in their proper order. Now, I can tell you that the human mind is oftentimes preoccupied with the things that is actually being presented to them. That's why advertising works. We cannot focus on many things at one go. That's why advertising works, because advertising only attracts you to one thing. That's it. Remind you, I'm here, or this brand is here. That's it. We'll see that in marketing later. Okay? That's all. But in order to make objective and justified decision, I'm sure everybody knows about SWOT analysis, right? What you do is that you list the problem, you list the benefits. Who knows? Actually, a big problem in your mind, the moment you list it down, there's no problem at all. Notice that? So, this partial budgeting is actually something along that line. That's why I use the example of you staying here, close by to UVM, coming to class in UVM, versus you going back to, let's say, your hometown in Shah Alam and commute every day. You'll be considering all those costs, safety, all kinds of other things. And in order to do this, you need to have these two components. First is cost, next will be benefits. So that means what? That means partial budgeting can be used for all kinds of things, even things that you commonly see in your daily life. That's why I say, this cost, bad business, is actually an extension of the clinical activity because it allows you to reflect what you have done in the hospital, in the field, and when you brought it in here, how do you structure everything to have a proper view? Okay, so in this case, if you put it into cost and benefit, cost means things that you have to pay, things that you have to forego. Benefits mean things that you gain, directly or indirectly. So in that sense, cost will be two components. Things that you have to pay, extra cost, or things that you have to let go. For example, by going back to Shah Alam, you may not be able to go out teh tarik with your friends who are actually here, right? That could be something that you have to forego. But, well, benefits could be, since you're not going less out for your teh tarik session, it could be even be translated into cost save. Who knows lah? But maybe you get in touch with your old friends in Shah Alam again. But that is actually just an example. Okay? So benefits will extra costs will include things that you have to pay and things that you have to forego. On the other hand, benefits will include savings that you get and new income that you are able to generate. Don't you think that if I speak from that perspective, partial budget becomes something that is easier for you to understand? Okay? That's all. You have all this in your mind, but you do not have a way to structure it. This is common sense. And the same thing can also be used if you want to decide whether you agree to the client's request to go for a very expensive cancer treatment. There are always requests at the back there. Oh, we've seen in the internet, this drug can do this. Okay lah, or this protocol can do this. Well, you may have to come up with a proper analysis of whether this can be done or not. Okay? So these are the four categories that generally what you do. And the stages of decision will be, frame your decision first. In real life, this may not be practical because you are deciding the end point, but we have to start somewhere. Frame your decision. What will be the objective like? Okay? In a clinic's position, you could be thinking about, should I introduce new services in the clinic? Should I relocate to another place? I cannot focus. Okay? And then, what are the decisions else that you need to make? And then after that, from that point onwards, identify alternatives. This is actually where the key outcome of your partial budget. Okay? Partial budget. Because you have to list all possible solutions and outcomes. So what you said just now was correct, yes. Alternatives. But these alternatives should be related to what you're doing now. Is it clearer to you now? What is partial budget all about? And then partial budget, why do you call it partial budget? Because in order for you to do analysis, you have to fix, let's say, the cost. You have to fix, let's say, the revenue. You cannot analyze if one of the parameters keep on fluctuating. That's why they call it partial budget. If you can still recall your advanced statistics, applied statistics. Remember the partial correlation? Jangan lupa dah okay, tak apa. Partial correlation works on that as well. That means you fix one parameter, allowing the others to change. Because if you don't fix, you do not have something to compare against. As simple as that. Okay. Because of that, then once you have the alternatives, then you have to structure what are your decisions like. Choose the most appropriate methods, and this is actually the case whereby you have CBA, DT, MCS. Were you taught all those techniques? Okay, then don't talk about it. These are the kind of techniques that you can use in business decisions. CBA is very, very commonly used in engineering. Engineering students do this. I gave a talk on CBA before. Engineering faculty, here, the Royal Engineers, RAE, Royal Engineers Association. And then the other one will be decision tree. Decision tree is a simple decision tree. You go, you take, let's say, pindah balik insyaAllah, what will be the cost save, what will be the per unit cost save, and all kinds of things. These are all decisions involving project management, which are not being taught to you guys. But never mind, you can further this one later when you do your MBA or whatever. Doesn't matter. But, okay, so then you have the Monte Carlo simulation and everything else. Once you have this, this is another one. Sensitivity analysis. You heard about sensitivity analysis? Okay? Sensitivity and risk analysis. This is something that is very, very important now. You have risk consultants. Okay? Australia, New Zealand, all the Western countries, when they make a decision, they have done the sensitivity analysis. In fact, later if you're involved with decisions in the ministry, if you want to pass certain laws and certain things, they will ask you for this. In big international corporations, they will ask you for this as well. For example, if we increase your product by about 10 cents per kilo or so on and so forth, what will be the impact like? In World Health Organization, for example, increase it by that amount, will it affect the outreach, the reachability of the product, or the medicine, or vaccine, whatever? Okay? All kinds of things, sensitivity analysis. And if you include, okay, if you include certain statements, certain things, will it make your product unmarketable or inaccessible to a certain group of people? That is risk analysis. Okay? Like Australia, a few years ago, okay, remember that they decided to switch from typical slaughtering to sticking cattle, and as a result, some halal certification for the Australian plants are actually revoked. So what they did? Well, prior to their decision, they already done the analysis. They knew that only certain countries will insist on sticking, but certain countries will allow sticking. Certain other countries will not do it. They have already studied the halal market. They know. So they took a gamble and they pushed for it. Why? Because if you allow slaughter, use a typical slaughter and bleed the animal, it will take you 3 minutes to bleed one animal. Because you have to do the assessment, the science, typical science indicating signs of life and all kinds of things. 3 minutes. Our law is 3 minutes. Our halal standard is 3 minutes. But if you go for sticking, blood will be completely evaporated in 20 seconds. So that means 1 minute, 3 animals. In the 3 minutes that you use for one animal, following our halal standard, okay, MS 1500 2015, they can slaughter 9 animals. So the Australian MLA decided to go for it. Never mind, we have another market that we can cater, because there are differences in the understanding of the laws. So when we blacklist them, when we don't allow them, it doesn't affect the other countries. So that's why they press on. These are the kind of things that we see. They dare enough to take that decision because they have already done risk and sensitivity analysis. These are the kind of things that affect international trade. These are the kind of things that affect us. Malaysia, being a small country, a small market, is not big enough for them. If China made the same decision, it's totally different story. So these are the kind of things that you have to understand. Why certain countries, why certain industries make certain decisions. We are not operating in Malaysia only. We are operating worldwide. And then we are dependent on them because we import food. We have to be careful where we stand. And because of that, you need your bargaining chips. And because of that as well, Datuk Zul, Prof. Awis and my team, we were shortlisted by the Australia MLA to run the study. They look at our study and see whether some of these results can be forwarded to the relevant authorities to be considered. I think I was having the distinction of maybe one of the few, or maybe the only non-Muslim presented the results in Majlis Ulama Negara. Right? But these are the kind of things that we have to convince. So all this, we have to understand what the other sides are doing. They perform their analysis. Because when we submit our report, the other report comes from the other consultants. They told us already what is the sensitivity analysis. What are the impacts if, let's say, this report did not get through? What are the impacts if, let's say, this because you consider all aspects. For us, we look at our MSISO guidelines, okay, our religious requirement. For them, they look at others, which is protests from animal welfare groups, global trade restrictions, and all kinds of things. So if you only consider one aspect, we'll be in trouble. Unless you are a major supplier and you have the chokehold of the supply. This is a real world. Those who have the force and power control the market. Okay? You look at what's happening around the world now. Certain superpower, they just the moment the agenda doesn't fit them, they ignore everybody. The moment it fits them, they're ready everybody to support them. So these are the kind of things that you have to look at how they operate. Then only you understand why certain decisions are made. Okay? Very real, very sad, but we have to find a way around it. So because of that, these two aspects are very important. I don't know. Maybe some of you will become risk consultants later. I did look at the curriculum. I was actually looking at possibilities of looking at that. No, it's not in my field. I better remain as a researcher. But I could be looking at risk for greenhouse gas emission, environmental action. That's it. Okay, next one. Once you have this, then only then you can implement and evaluate decisions. Okay, implement and evaluate decisions. Okay, this is also why, because of this action, like what I told you just now, that Zul's group, Prof. Awis group, and my group were shortlisted to do that study, and we got a grant to do that. They were willing to pay a few million Aussie dollars, not ringgit, to run that study. That was back in 2013 until 2017. Okay? Eventually, the Malaysian government restrictions remain. So now we're switching to other markets who are more receptive of ours. Okay? So in Australia, they have their own market to cater to. So that's why, if you are at DBS, you know, only certain institutions, certain countries, certain plants can export to Malaysia. Okay? So these are the kind of things that you could be facing. And that's why we need people in the food sector, not only in small animals. I promised to bring you that document, I forgot again. Okay. Back to the partial budgets. Partial budgets, okay, again, like what I told you, is actually a budget with fixed parameter for part of the budget, and it is being done on the annual basis. Okay, done on the annual basis. Okay, and it may not be good for projection analysis. So it can be done only for year-to-year basis. Year-to-year basis. I'll give you the example later. Once you see the example, it becomes maybe clearer. If you are operating a farm, These are the concerns that the farm operator will be looking at. Number one is of course profit. The main reason why business exists is because of this. I'm sure you heard about this term already, profit motive. Profit motive? Profit motive? Yes? No? You should be taught this in your, if you take economics, the key reason why business exists is just because of profit motive. Drive to make a profit, to sustain the business, and then with profit motive as well, you have innovation. Okay? Otherwise, what do you think people introduce new businesses? Otherwise, what do you think McDonald's introduce, let's say, drive-thru? Okay, for example. So, number one, profit motive. Number two, mitigation of risk. If you're running a farm, the last thing that you want is disease comes in, wipe off everything, correct? Mitigation of risk. Or you farm the chicken at this price when the price of feed is high, but by the time you want to sell the chicken, the price of chicken has really dropped. There is financial risk. Okay? Or you set up a clinic, like what we saw in the report. One clinic in one area, they were complaining to the council saying that why did you approve 2 more licenses for 2 more clinics within 400 meters of the clinic? That kind of report is getting very, very common now. That's why I don't agree with people saying that there's actually a demand for that. No. They wanted the demand so that we can kill each other. Once we kill each other, we kill our prices. Good for them, not good for us. You see what's going on? You know how many vet schools are being planned now? The girl? 9. 9. Not one in one state. There could be 3 or 4 here. I don't know. Maybe some of you wanted to become lecturers later. I'm not saying definitely 9. The document arriving on my desk, only 2. But I knew 3 others are preparing because actually everybody wants to have a date with me. Particularly the management board of certain schools they are setting up. One day I start to know, oh yeah, that is actually very hot, huh? Everybody wanted to see the QAC chap. I have to be very careful because if I don't do it right, I could be summoned, I could be all kinds of funny things, right? Because the moment my committee says go, recommend to proceed, they can set up the school. Then instead of complaining 400 meters next to your clinic, it could be 200 meters, it could be 100 meters, it could be next door. Tak nak lah kan? The clinic they complain to us saying that they have yet to hit a profitable, a good turnover margin. They are actually just cukup makan sahaja and then approve another license. Sakit tak? Bukan tu sahaja. Then once you have another clinic, not only that you grab customers, you might even grab the vet tech, right? The workers. Tak apa, kita bayar you lebih. Crossover, and then after that clinic close, okay lah, ataupun port over. That's what's actually happening now. So be careful. That's why I disagree saying that there's actually a demand. Yes, like what I told you last week, the demand is there because we just discovered a new fishing place. But the problem of that new fishing place is that there are not many fish. The fish will be depleted soon. Then after that, what do you eat? Water? No plankton, only water. Air je. Come on. Okay? So that's why it becomes important for you to know. In that particular operation, your aim, number 1, is to maximize profit. Number 2, to mitigate risk. Risk macam ni lah. Not only disease, but you should be talking about risk of operations as well. You invested a lot in your clinic. After a while, okay, not profitable anymore. Apa nak buat ya? Tutup ya? Kalau sell, you get a good price, I don't mind. Exit the market. Retire early. Like what the startups are doing. You establish at 150k, you sell at maybe 10 million, okay lah, retire lah. So 40 years old, 30 years old.
现在去卖鸡饭少走30年歪路。
Okay? But your business must have that prospect to do so. That means it must be able to generate the necessary profit margin. And you know that in business, they always talk about due diligence, right? Due diligence. You understand meaning due diligence? I'm sure Dr. Azmi talked to you about this due diligence. What about this stuff? You tengok, checklist pun ada. Any listed company, any company to be sold, to be evaluated, whatever, they will do this. They will do due diligence. They will go through all your account books. They will go through all your cases. They will go through everything. For example, you quote, my business here can be sold for 1 million lah. 10 years later, maybe 20 million. How do they know? They run this. Then they might simply tell you, RM1 beli company lah kot. We don't want to buy. Or we buy when you're bankrupt. We want your license, for example. Some of them are doing that. Okay? So don't end up in that situation. Okay? This is financial due diligence. There's actually a checklist to do. And of course, this one is personal lah. Attainment of personal goals and satisfaction. Well, hold on. Depending on what you want. Okay, just like me and my wife. My wife used to joke saying that I'm working for my freedom. She works for the money. Depends on what you want. Okay? 20 years ago, if I made 21 years ago, if I made a slightly different, not 21 years, 25 years ago, if I made a slightly different decision, I won't be here anymore. Okay? It depends on what you want. Okay? It depends on what you want. Because that was the time I was actually, because they knew that I like research, I like doing things, I like solving problems. So at that point, I got an offer from a French company based in Singapore to run regional trials. That time, not many beds are available. Okay? How much was the pay package then? It was about 9,000 starting.
Wow.
New beds, huh? 1998 in the middle of crisis. Singapore wasn't affected by the crisis, so there are no problem. 1998, the picture is totally different. But I elected to stay back. Just because Dato' Sheikh Omar, you know, right? Ask me what you want in life. Yeah. So it depends on what you want. And then later I found out the university that I applied to, Cornell, I got admitted, I got accepted at Cornell. But then by the time I got the offer letter, UPM told me, Malaysian government ran out of money. So here I am today, until now. Voila. It depends on what you want. Okay? It depends on what you want. But the good thing is that by staying back, I complete my degree here. I finished my PhD in only less than 3 years. Less than 3 years. If I were to go to Cornell, like Prof. Rahman and Prof. Latifah, because Cornell, you go on the competitive PhD basis. So that means 3 years of masters, competitive masters, pass the comprehensive, pass the masters, only then they allow you to start a PhD. So by the time you finish, it could be 5 years. Yeah, it could be 5 years. So it depends. These are the choices that you have to make. Okay, these are the choices that you have to make. Okay? So that is found. Now, what about another consideration? You look at this article that I took in 2012 versus this article that I took only last week, 2 weeks ago, last month. Same problem. 2012 macam tu juga. Where were you 2012?
Primary school.
Standard
Six.
6. Standard 6
Six.
Okay, standard 6. Standard 12 macam tu. This is article from the staff. Standard 12. 2023 macam tu juga. What's going on? Like what I mentioned, we do not have a comprehensive industry policy that support our industry. So instead of supporting the industry, okay, we could be making certain decisions that affect our industry. Okay, affect our industry. And this is something that I want all of you to avoid, especially regarding to our veterinary and animal industry. Okay. The second one, risk. Remember there are 3. Maximizing profit, but you have to understand that maximum production doesn't result in maximum profit. No, not necessarily. It's actually curated production. Something like what I'm doing to the vet profession here. Yes, you want vets, it's not enough, yeah, but we don't release everybody. Stages. We don't allow 9 vet schools to be established all in one go. We don't want to be like the Philippines and Thailand. Okay? Thailand is already pushing for MRA, Mutual Recognition Agreement. This month, 2 professions are liberalized in ASEAN. One of them is the physiotherapist, the other one is pharmacist. So that means what? Within ASEAN, there will be mobility of these 2 professionals. Pharmacy saya kena teruk kan? Okay, I was told recently the KPJ Pharmacy School intake for this year only 5 students out of the possible 45 places. 5 sahaja. That's why all the corporations are going into veterinary field thinking that they can get students to sustain the school. Okay? No joke, and this is actually something that I don't want. I don't want to happen. So I could be the bad guy lah. That's right. Whenever they want to date with me, they never get it. For me, it's very simple. Go to the council's president. I cannot see you macam tu sahaja. Okay? And you come to see me when you have the document. And the worst part is that some of those people are actually my teachers.
Oh.
Susah kan? Susah kan? Apa? You learn later. You just imagine you are the regulator and I come with my application to you. And I know a lot of people behind me. Susah kan? Something I want to like. But never mind, good experience. Okay, second one, disease. So, there are always 4 policies. I think these are the 4 policies that maybe Dr. Yani has already told you. Number 1, do nothing. Number 2, treat for disease cases. Number 3, a comprehensive program to control the disease. Number 5, eradicate it completely. These are the 4 options that a country can do. Do nothing, let it be. Number 2, treat only the sick ones. Number 3, a comprehensive program to treat, control, vaccinate, whatever. Number 4, the most extreme one, eradicate the entire disease. Okay, so you have to ask yourself, which ones the government wanted to do? Which ones can you afford to do? Okay, you look at our recent handling of rabies and ASF, African swine fever, and even classical swine fever, ASF and CSF. By the way, what's the difference between the two? CF5
一个船吧，很
Why
快就死
classical
到
and why African? Oh, ni soalan ni boleh tanya konferensi nanti. Okay. You see now, when I said that, vet business is actually a point where you reflect on whatever you're doing there. Okay, why for SF we went for what? Eradication? Right?
eradication.
CSF? Control. Why? Why one CSF is actually control, the other one is eradication? Have you ever thought about it?
High mortality.
First, you look at the agent.
Oh,
You look at the agent. Okay? Then, after that, you look at the potential economic effects. Okay? And so on and so forth. So, in this case, there are certain things that you do differently in different states. For example, FMD. What do you do? What is the typical practice for FMD in the buffer states, in the northern states, buffer states? Kelantan, for example, Perak. What do you do? Vaccinate? Do you allow vaccinations? Ini soalan biasa in your conferencing, you know? You pergi DBS, benda ni tak boleh jawab. The director for SPS and the DG of DBS will complain to UPM. What did you teach your student? Berulang dulu. Go back and review, That's why I say this session is supposedly you review what you have done there. Kenapa CSF control? Kenapa SF eradication? What are the key considerations? And then after that, why do you do different policies for FMD in buffer states versus the central states? Have you ever thought about it? Because if you think along that line, it will make you find an easier answer. Remember, when we talk about vet business, we do not talk about business only. We talk about the entire veterinary industry. You see, it suddenly touches diseases. And in order to understand that, you have to understand the etiology of disease, the dynamics of the disease. If you do not have good graphs, can you answer me? You can't. And these are the questions asked by the ministers. Now you can imagine, pedas tak nak jawab benda ni? Dengan menteri. Kenapa telur tak cukup? Macam mana ni? Kita dapat macam-macam. Kenapa telur masih tak cukup lagi? Kita bagi subsidi, bagi itu, bagi ini. Kenapa tak cukup? DPS buat apa? Pegawai veteriner buat apa? Kenalah. Okay? Next Thursday, when we go and meet Kementerian Ekonomi, kenalah soalan macam tu. Because those people are extra to you. I don't like to face them. Memang after the Q&A session, you look very stupid. You feel very stupid as well. But never mind lah. After a while, even though you're stupid, you act you're smart. Tak apa, cara biasa lah. That's why I said I'm more or less like a administrative officer now, rather than academic. Okay. So if you go for either one of these choices, what will be the cost involved? Okay? Cost will be unchecked morbidity and mortality. So that means this could be translated into economic loss. Chances are, if any one of these diseases becomes something that is transmissible to human beings, you are going to face even worse costs, right? Okay? Treatment of diagnosed cases. Then we have to ask the government. In order to do that, we need to have proper surveillance. We need to have teams on the ground to treat them, to find them. Number 3, if you just control, itu lagi lah. Government have to pay for the vaccine cost, continuous surveillance, personnel, everything else, and you need capacity. Do you have that now? That's why decisions by the government, I know some of you could be joining DPS or whatever. Decisions of the government very much depends on this cost and benefits. You have to explain to them. And this is actually where partial budget analysis, economic analysis becomes important. Next, eradication of disease. A very good example would be Uruguay. Uruguay is actually an exporter of beef. They bite the bullet back in, I think, 2008, 2009, decided to eradicate one disease about beef. Everybody participated. They managed to eradicate the disease. And as a result, they got accepted as one of the countries that can export their beef to US. And not only that, they aim at the premium beef market, something that the US producers cannot chase them. So are you willing to do that? But the cost is enormous. Will the government do it? Uruguay, of course lah, not many people. I think 4 million people only country. Not that big. And it's actually a middle upper income country. So no worries. So this is once and for all cost of the program. So different disease, based on the characteristic of the disease, based on the cost of surveillance, based on the cost of controlling them, you take different structure, you take different approach. So that is cost. What about benefit? This is actually where you persuade the people with your decision. You do this, you get this. Okay? Benefits. Do nothing. As long as there's no downside to make matters worse, biarkan je lah. Biar si Lucai lompat dengan labu-labu ni. Terjun kan, dia lompat. Terjun lah, terjun mana-mana je. Do you allow that to happen? If let's say there are no downside risks of making matters worse, can it be? A good example, in human context, maybe not right lah. I think the medical people will not be very happy with me. I'm sure you know the chikungunya fever. Chikungunya fever. Okay. Initially it was a concern. Now, monitor saja. Because the effects are transient. Okay. If I say this in front of them, they'll marah. Because your priority should be dengue. Right? But these are the kind of things that we have no choice but to prioritize. Next, treatment of diagnosed cases. This is only true if, let's say, the disease, to some extent, is largely self-limiting. Okay lah, lepas you treat one, the rest are not affected. Fine. But it's highly infectious. Strategy number 2 doesn't work. You look at your CSF and ASF. Which one does it for? CSF, which one? ASF, which one is more infectious? Okay? So these are the kind of things that you have to look at as well. Thirdly, control. Ada duit ke? You tengoklah. Other countries, they have specific vaccination programs against bucardiosis, pustulosis, right? What about Malaysia? Because I remember my Iranian students once asked me, I was running a good project at that point. Your animals in Malaysia don't get vaccination. I was going like, okay. Pustulosis. Because I told them, monitor for pustulosis. At that time, you don't call it pustulosis anymore, right? You call it bucardiosis, right? Still pustulosis. Okay lah, jangan lah. Pustulosis lah. Supposedly bucardiosis. So in that case, yeah, in Iran they have that program. Here we don't. What will be the implications like? And eradication. To me, this one is beyond us. This one will require the government to allocate money to do it. And the only few examples of the diseases that we can go for complete eradication is rabies, no? Because it has significant public health push. and you need to have a proper law in place. A good example would be the situation between Peninsular Malaysia and Sabah and Sarawak in particular. You know that the Animal Act 1953 was enacted in 1952 to combat rabies. I think I explained to you guys. There are specific points within the Animal Act 1953 enacted in 1952 that does that. For example, movement of animals, what to do when animals bite human, the power of the bats, they are all there. But in the VPHO, Veterinary Public Health Ordinance Sarawak 1999, some of those powers are missing. Okay? I can criticize them because I'm a Sarawakian. Then they say that I'm not an outsider. I hate them. I don't care. Then they cannot blame me saying that a Semenanjung officer. I say, I'm a Sarawakian, so what? I said, you should look at your legal framework. Okay? The other officers from here, they not say anything. I say something, then they cannot use that against me. Okay? So these are the kind of things that you have to be mindful. Okay? You have to be mindful. So these are the options that you do. Like what I mentioned to you, these are the steps that you make decisions. Okay? Framing your decision. Alternatives, the 4 alternatives that you see just now. Evaluate decision. This is actually what we move on to. This constitutes, okay? This constitutes what you do for the analysis just now. Cost and benefit. This one, using the example of a farm. Okay? Using the example of a farm. So you talk about labor, you talk about land and buildings, you talk about capital, you talk about livestock, you talk about machinery. I will not touch this yet, I would rather go to the example. Once you have that, okay, once you have all the costs and everything else, you need to distinguish between the FC and the VC. Fixed cost, variable cost. Fixed cost will become important when your decision is over a long period of time. Otherwise, you pay attention to VC only, variable cost. Okay, that's why I want you to list down all those components and so on and so forth. Otherwise, that doesn't matter. And another one that is important, which is concerning production, just now was input, building, everything else. You see that I jumped through quickly, right? Because that is theoretical. I prefer to go to the example, then only I explain to you. I'm just explaining to you, these are the elements that you need to take into account for the consideration. A lot of materials are taken from ILRI. ILRI is an institute for ruminant development based in world. International Institute for Ruminant Development based in Kenya. Okay? It's for sub-Saharan countries, but it's based in that region because they want to develop that ruminant industry. Okay? At one point, we were also serving as part of the input for them as well, providing input for the Kenyan authorities. Not to say Kenyan authorities. ILRI is part of the UN sanctioned authorities. Okay. So, first, disease, input, everything else. Next, output. In output, we talk about two things. Output and optics. You're being taught about optics as well, right? Optics. 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 For example, you produce eggs in a farm. Some eggs are sold, correct? That is production. Some eggs you consume on your own, or you send for testing. They are not sold, right? Those are considered optics. That did not result in production. Produced, but did not result in any revenue or production. Because of maybe QC, maybe because of other reasons, and so on and so forth. Okay. So, here I use a very clear example, culling. Culling is an optic. Okay? Culling is an optic. And milk given to the cows which are not being sold is also considered an optic. Okay? Next will be production. Variable production in terms of males and females. Males, we typically sell them. Females, we keep for breeding, if let's say they are of good breeding soundness. Okay? What are the criteria of good breeding soundness in animals? Good breeding soundness animals, you go by species first, right? Okay. Any example? This is supposedly the extension of your theory and animal science. And maybe genetics. Yeah, okay, yes. Translated into? Libido translated into? For example, a bull is always ready to go, but no females. The ratio is wrong. You can only afford one female for one bull or one bull. Come on, you can only produce one per year, right? For bull, for example. Good libido, but stop that. Not many females to serve, so you do not have any way to multiply. So, what do you call it? Fecundity and fertility. What is fecundity? DBM5. What is fecundity? Wait. I get very worked up now. Huh? I'm actually having. What is fecundity?
可以生很多了，不是吗？啊，可以生。那个 parasite 的不是很。
You see, this is better than libido, right? Libido is only one measure. This is output, total output. So, we talk about fecundity, fertility of a breeding line. For example, later you may want to run a cattery. Don't do it now, please. You want to run a cattery or you want a kennelry, breeding dogs and cats. Cats are not supposed to do that. Of course, you look at cats that are pretty, cats that are handsome, and then they can breed a lot of handsome cats and pretty cats. Tada! So you talk about fecundity, fertility. What else? Come on. Consider this is actually a revision for your comprehensive exam. Breathing soundness. Physical, good. Physical, depending on conformation, and most important, let's say for females, mammals, you look at what? Mammary gland. Mammary gland conformation, mammary gland features different from species to species. In cattle, you want equal quarters. In small ruminants, even better if you have equal quarters. In pigs, you don't want inverted teats. You don't want blind teats. These are logic, right? What happened to you guys? Tanya benda tu dah panik lah, Okay, tak apa. Tahun depan kita jumpa. You see, that's why I say this course is actually some sort of revision for you to do what you've done. Because by now, by DBM 5, you should be able to merge everything that what you have done throughout the 5 years. You see that I run this course different from what Dr. Yani has been running, right? She only focus on the topic. I don't. I focus on revision from the other side as well. Maybe that's why students are scared of me. Because what happens is that they say my questions that I ask during conferences teruk semua, tak boleh teka. Ya ke? No lah. And they say I'm unpredictable. For me, it's very simple. I follow how you lead me. You lead me to the edge of the cliff, I follow you down to the edge of the cliff. The difference is you die at the edge of the cliff, I don't die. Correct? So please Please, do not take me to the edge of the cliff because I have 9 lives. You don't. You know what's the meaning of leading to the edge of the cliff in the comprehensive exam? You bagi semua lead yang salah, saya ikut je. Kemudian towards the end of the cliff, I said, sorry, all your leads are wrong. And by the time, by then, what are you to do? That's why I say, you lead me to the edge of the cliff, you die, I don't die. I can respond for the next candidate. Okay, so please make sure that your answers are justified. Okay, so regarding fertility. So you need to know the right words to say in this case rather than libido. Okay, libido is fine, no problem, but it's translated into another quantity. And then the physical characteristics of the animal. And then if you are talking about herd animals, what are the key indicators saying that the animal are ready to breed? For example, consistency of return to heat. Return to heat. Understand that term, right? Return to heat. These are all production. You don't think that this one is only matters for your cattle or sheep or pigs, whatever. This one also important for your dogs and cats. Okay? So, this is something that you need to be mindful as well. So, we are talking about costs and diseases and benefits of the control. So, because of that, once you have already identified the components, first you know your decision, either eradicate ke, control ke, and then after that, you identify all the cost components, segregate them into VC, FC, and then what are the characteristics of the breeding, of the farm and everything else. Then and only then you can get into this. This is actually where you relate this one. This formula, you don't have to understand. You don't have to, not to say understand, you don't have to memorize. It's very simple. Net changes in farm and operations. I'm not talking only about farms. Later you see that I'm using this for a clinic as well. In farm operations, include the total of cost saved and revenue gain. Okay, cost saved and revenue gain minus extra cost incurred plus revenue forgone. So that means this minus this. Benefits minus cost. That's it. So you don't have to remember which component is actually the one that you do. You just take benefit minus cost. If you come out positive, good. If you come out negative, think about your decision. And you have to do this for each and every one of this. Do nothing, treatment, control, eradication. Each one of them, benefit minus cost, benefit minus cost, benefit minus cost. What does that look like? Then and only then you have a compiling result. This is exactly what this slide is talking about. Okay? Further elaboration of this will include this one. What do you mean extra costs? Increased veterinary and drug expenses, especially now with AMR coming. All of you were there at the AMR discussion the other day? Seminar? No? Yes. It was actually an event there, right? I saw a lot of my classmates, but at that point I was actually at KPT. When I look at them, I'm at the stage whereby all our classmates are getting back again because possibly some of them are getting old. So I'm sure you can see this among your relatives and even your parents as well. When you get older, you start to collect all your classmates. Notice that? And then after that, what I saw in my father-in-law's case, then they start to report. This one jadi arwah, this one jadi mendiang. First you get the wedding invitation, and then after that, ni jadi arwah, ni jadi mendiang. Come on, no, don't do that kind of group. And that's happening to my group now. So, extra costs, revenue forgone will include production loss, stunted growth, poor milk or egg production, low quality product that cannot be sold. For example, poor extra quality, transportation, everything else. And cost saved, which includes better FCR, lower veterinary and labor costs, and efficient use of natural resources, for example, water and electricity. This is something that you may be thinking about, because our electrical cost is no longer going to be subsidized for a long time. Revenue gain. Maybe I'm talking about a superior product or a new revenue stream. Okay, new revenue stream. This is something that I want you to think about before you progress with your business plan. What are your revenue streams? Revenue streams means mode of you making money. For example, in your clinic, you only have surgery medicine. Do you want boarding? Do you want selling pet accessories? Do you want to do maybe house calls? Maybe some of you may even include post-mortem services or counseling services for bereaved pet owners. Who knows? Joint venture dengan Lembaga Kaunselor Malaysia. Tak tahu. I can tell you, things are getting more and more competitive. Everybody wanted to have that advantage. Terutama kalau one clinic is 400 meters from you. Another clinic is 100 meters from you. Right? You have to differentiate yourself. This is actually why we have specializations. Okay. So revenue gain as a superior product and so on and so forth. Okay? How many of you have heard about stories of the baby carrots? You know what are baby carrots, right? Are those really baby carrots? Why? They are just reshaped, right? Reshaped carrots. But because they are branded as baby carrots, they command premium price. From useless carrot, which is of ununiform size, they shape it into standard size and then sell it as baby carrots as a premium product. Crazy, right? Just because of one person who invented that in California. Okay? Because when you sell carrots, you want carrots to be of the same size, correct? And we found out that sometimes you don't get same size carrots. What do? You shave them up. That's why baby carrots always have the same size, the same cut. Okay? Sheep placenta as a base for beauty products. And snail secretions for beauty products as well. I think the South Koreans are doing this. Snail secretions, right?
Yes.
Anybody using that?
No.
I hope that, we were joking, I hope that once you use the snail secretion, you won't become a snail. Okay? So, things that you do not think about using. Okay. This is an example. These are my last maybe 2 or 3 slides. After that, I think you guys can go. I will take away the cat.
就讲了，很久哎，下午是台，但现在他们有在。
Hey, this is partial version example.
哦，
In short, you simplify everything into cost and benefits. Okay? Your ultimate decider will be benefit minus cost. What do you get? This is an example using farm, and you will see later. Second one. This one is cleaning. Cleaning, I want you to do. Okay. In 2010, a farmer recorded a mortality of 120 pre-weaned piglets. What are the financial implications given the average FCR for this farm is 2.3? Pigs are typically sold when they reach 100 kilogram at 160 days, and live weight price per kilogram is assumed to be 7.2 ringgit per kilo. This is our very old price back from 2010. Variable cost, which includes feed, medication, transportation, incurred for each pig in this farm works up to be about 3.5 per pig per day. You notice one thing that I told you. FC is not included. Why? Because it's shorter than 1 year. But if you have an operation that is more than 1 year, you need to prorate the FC. Okay, you need to prorate the FC. This one, no need to prorate because one production cycle of things is how long? 6 months. 6 months. So this is short-term production. In continuation of what I already told you last lecture. Okay, so in this case, okay, in this case, what will be the new? You talk about you talk about benefits will be cost savings. Okay, another one will be the revenue gain. Okay, and then after that, the cost will be the extra cost. Okay, the next one will be revenue forgone. Don't you notice that this one looks like SWOT analysis? 4 squares. Simple, you just go through. So I'm sure you will be looking at the same thing if you want to think about whether should I stay in Sri Sedang, go to UVM every day, or I move back to Shah Alam with my parents. Simple, this is SWOT analysis. This one will actually help you to organize what are the points that you need to think about. I'm trying to present partial budget as something that you can relate to your daily life. Not something that you only see in DPP 3170 and then after that you forgot all about it. Right? Because if something that is experiential and personalized to you, yeah, okay, I can use this. Okay? Now, cost savings. Extra cost, tak nampak kan? No, zero. Revenue gain, is like talking about pigs dying, everything else. No lah, tak ada. So now we only work on savings and forgone. Why savings? Okay, why savings? Because you're talking about animal that is dead. And your decision here, remember the flow of decision is to frame what you want to do. The approach here is do nothing. You decided that, oh no, I'm just going to bet. I'm just going to take a risk. Do nothing. 6 months. Boleh lah kot. Like some poultry farmers, push, apa. 40 days only. Pray hard, no disease, we can sell a chicken. Then we can go to KFC. Okay? So in this case, this is do nothing approach. That means you do not put in extra cost. And then you do not get any revenue because you do not introduce new revenue stream, correct? Unless you can introduce revenue stream, mungkin ayam yang mati itu jadikan kompos. Lepas tu jual kepada industri baju organik. That is revenue gain. You profit from the dead chickens. Right, right. Compose, coba. So in this case, there is no such statement. But if you say that dead carcasses can be recycled into organic, then okay lah. But the problem now is that you are recycling dead chickens from disease. People may not want to take it anymore, right? Okay, tak apa, buang je, tanam je. So the do nothing approach will result in no net revenue gain, no extra cost because you do not implement any disease program, and therefore you can only have cost save. Okay? Cost save. Okay, cost savings. Okay? Your cost savings now, okay? Your cost savings now will be if let's say these animals did not die. Correct? Your animals did not die. Cost save only occur if the animal did not die. But in this case, they died, right? So we want to know what happened if let's say they did not die. And see whether it's worth taking the do nothing approach. So in this case, 120 pigs at 3.5 medication, everything else per day times 160 days. sorry, 160 minus 30 days. Why minus 30? Breeding. So that means, had they not died, these are the costs that you have to pay to keep them until marketing age. You notice that? You treat the cost that you don't have to pay for the pigs as a cost saved. Notice that? The pigs died at 30 days. But if let's say they continue to live, they will have consumed and required this much of cost. Correct? 54,000. But since they died, you see the cost lah. Tak payah makan, tak payah bagi ubat, tak payah bagi itu, tak payah bagi ini. Very bad way of saying things, huh? Now, as a result, since they die, you also need to forgo the revenue, correct? You cannot sell the animals. Right? So, these are the potential revenue that you forgo. Okay? These are the potential revenues that you forgo. 120 pigs at 7.2 ringgit per kilogram multiplied by mature weight of 100 kilograms, that translates to 86,000. In actual fact, when your net impact, you see, we calculate the net impact will be to total income minus total cost. So that means this minus this. So you lose how much? 31,000. You have to ask yourself, can you take it? So that is the first simulation. You can do the next, which is actually for control program, and then you can do another one, which is actually for eradication program. And I can tell you, the moment you do control program, this extra cost is going to come in, right? This extra cost is going to come in, and then it is not for 120 animals. It could be for the entire farm, right? And then revenue gain, unless you create new revenue stream, it's going to hit you. Now you see why do nothing is also an approach. So you have to run one for do nothing, another one for control, another one for something else. I've seen this incorporated in your notes, but was this explained to you? It was already in your notes. But it was using all kinds of economic terms now. Okay? I know, because when Yani, Dr. Yani, when she first came back, she was very sad because the annual review from students was always, for her, was only between 3 to 4. She come back to class and marah the student. Lagilah jatuh from 3 to 4 to something else. I told her, do not do it that way. There are other ways to deal with it. Okay? She can be very direct, right? She's nice. Dr. Yani is nice, very helpful, but she's too direct. Maybe because too long in Netherlands, I guess. Netherlands are like that. Dutch are like that. Very direct. Okay? And then when they send email, they CC everybody. Here you don't do that, right? Mana boleh CC everybody? Siap kena. Okay? So, these are the kind of things that you should be thinking about. So this one is only for a do nothing approach. Then again, you can simulate. So the marginal loss for 120 pigs will be 265 per animal. So based on this model alone, you know your mortality may not be 120 animals. It could be 100, it could be 50, it could be 200. But if you know the marginal loss of your decision, can you see that you can apply this decision to a bigger flock, a bigger herd, bigger flock? You know already. Every time a chicken dies, it costs you this much money. Every time a pig dies, it costs you this much money. Every time a cow dies, it costs you this much money. Then you have to ask yourself, how much are you willing to tolerate? Or in the clinic basis, each time a customer walk away, how much are you going to lose? So this is partial budget analysis in a simplified form. You notice that I did not take into, I lump everything, the BC into 350, right? That is assuming everything has been analyzed. Easier for you to do it. And I'm sure as practitioner in your area, you have all these costs hooked up for you. Okay? So this is a very direct, very simple approach. And you can also simulate for what happens if the animal dies at age of 2 months? 3 months. At what point does the marginal loss becomes unacceptable to you? Okay, so this is very direct, but do nothing approach. Then you may want to try another one, control. Yeah.
For the first 30 days that you're giving like 350 for the first premium, it's not included in the calculation, you like that's loss.
Because this time we are talking about marginal loss. We are not talking about total loss. Marginal means selepas that 30 days. Selepas that 30 days, so that means this model is only workable selepas PW. But if you want to work for the first 30 days, your model has to go the way back. Okay? Any further questions? Okay, next one. Ini kamu kena buat kerja. Okay. This is a decision framed by a veterinarian. He is reviewing his clinic's operation. He is deciding on how best to invest equipment, personnel, resources. The clinic charges an average of 125 ringgit per case when you train, which is 45 ringgit is the cost price based on a 600 cases a year basis. Different clinic, different rates. The average charge for medicine surgery cases at the clinic is about 150 per case. This one pukul rata semua. Take for the entire year. And this one only valid for that clinic. You as an operator, you know how much is actually for a clinic. Different locality, different affordability, different. Of which 60 is the average cost price based on the caseload of 3,600 cases a year. By relocating to an upscale neighborhood, the clinic will get 10% more cases at the expense of 5% reduction in the number of medicine and surgery cases, because you increase the train, somebody has to give because you only have 24 hours a day. Right? However, charges for medicine and surgery cases can be priced higher at 180 ringgit. On average case, where the cost price increased by about 6%. Can you see the extensive economic analysis here? This upscale neighborhood also has significant demands for grooming and pet accessories, which will contribute an additional marginal income of about 14 ringgit per case. So you see, new things started coming, revenue stream. You have grooming, you have pet accessory sales. In fact, you can ask around, some clinic, the pet accessory sales actually exceed their actual veterinary practice. And that's why you see, simple fact, you can see a lot of pet accessory shops sprouting out, right? Yeah. If let's say it's not profitable, why do they operate it? And sometimes they may be even more profitable than you. Which is sad, right? The profession actually proposed for them to be regulated, but they have very strong trade union and they are bigger than us. So who knows lah, one day we may be able to do it. Hopefully for you guys to do it lah, maybe with more vets. Now it's about 3,000 vets fighting against them. Susah lah. And how about the 3,000? Annually we have about close to 2,000 only renewing APC. People like me, we don't really practice in the clinic. Okay? For me, I've been caught sometimes only, so maybe I'll down the back. Now, here the analysis will be, what will be the impact of marginal loss or income? It could be marginal income, marginal loss, if the clinic did not relocate versus relocate. You can also have another option whereby you open a new branch. So that means there are multiple possibilities, right? Relocate the clinic, or stay here, open a new branch. How would the new branch contribute to your new operation? So you can see, this kind of analysis actually allows you to see rationally what you can do, what you cannot do. Okay, let's look at this problem one by one. Where do we start? This table again. I think I need to widen this a little. Cukup tak cukup? I may have to remove the cap already. Cost, extra cost, revenue forgone. You see, I talked about cap, I forgot about revenue forgone. Okay. Let's look at the statement again. Do you think all four are there?
No.
Clinic charges are M175 case for Nutri, in which 45 is the cost price based on 600 cases a year. So that means you can calculate the profit, which is about 80, correct? Okay? Profit margin per case is 125 minus 45, which is 80 per case, correct? There is existing location, and this is based on 600 cases a year. I know you know that this price changes every year, right? Because of that. This one factoring in electricity, macam-macam lah, gaji semua tu lah. Okay? Next, and this is the profit margin for Nutri. This is Nutri. The next one for medicine and surgery. Okay, medicine and surgery is 150 per case, 60 is average cost price. So that means 90. So that means, in simple terms, medicine 90, profit, Nutri 80. Okay, Nutri 80. So, by relocating to an upscale neighborhood, the clinic will get 10% cases more on Nutri. So that means is revenue gain, correct? Yes. Revenue gain. So that means 10% Nutri cases. Okay? 10% Nutri cases. This is considering move. Okay? The decision now is to move. Okay, huh? So that's why you need to set the decision what you want to do. If I move, I'll get 10% more Nutri cases. Okay? And at the expense of 5% reduction of medicine and surgery cases. Revenue forgone kan? Okay, revenue forgone. Okay, revenue forgone. Now, you have to remember these Nutri cases is based on 600 cases. So that means 10% increase is equivalent to 60. This one, 5% reduction is based on berapa? 5%, 36 is 120. Betul? Betul? 180. 180 kan? Why do you need to work on this? Because this is the actual amount loss. Actual amount gain, actual amount loss. Are you still with me? Yes. Okay. However, okay, charges of medicine can be priced higher. Okay. So now we talk about caseload sahaja, but you forgot another thing. Don't forget another thing. Charges for medicine and surgery can be priced higher at 180 per average case where the cost price increased by about 6%. So that means right? It becomes, profit margin becomes better. Okay, profit margin becomes better. So what's the net change? So instead of 150, it becomes 180. And the cost price increased by about 6%. So which is, the difference will be, you work out, now it's 180, cost price will be 60 times 1.06. The profit margin will be how much? How many ringgit? How many ringgit? My throats are getting dry already. I hope I'm not politics. 116.4. So this one becomes 116.4 per case. Okay? This upscale neighborhood also has significant demand for grooming and pet accessories, which contribute additional marginal income of about 14 per case. This is not existing before, right? So that means this is revenue gain. Okay, so that means increase RM 14 per case. Extra cost, okay? Extra cost is actually, sorry, not extra cost. This one is actually supposedly, extra cost is actually here. The 6% increase in cost. Sorry, that's not supposed to be here, right? Correct? And this one is translated as this. Technically, you can just write here, and then because later when you subtract it, it's all fine, no problem. Okay? In return, which is 30 ringgit, right?
Yeah.
150 to, because of 180 minus 150. Okay? So this is revenue gain in terms of neutral cases, in terms of higher income per case, in terms of this one. Okay? And then this one for revenue foregone will be reduction in medicine cases because there are no mention about neutering at all, correct?
Yes.
So that means we assume to be the same. So that means reduction in medicine surgery, but you charge at 180. Okay, 180. Okay, charge at 180. Sorry, charge at 180. So this one. Forgo at 15% at 150, the original price. These are the things that have to forgo. But the thing now is that the revenue gain will be increase of 30. Okay? What we are trying to do now is, of course, it gets difficult the first time when you run this, because these are all the elements that you have to put them in the right places. So now you have cost and benefits. Cost savings, you don't see any, right? Any? There are none here, so that means cost savings is out. Mostly revenue gain, revenue gain, revenue gain. In fact, our attention mostly is on revenue gain anyway. This one, extra cost, because of the increases. Because surgery and medicine cases, no doubt you have increase in cost. Because as more cases comes in, you use more gloves, for example, more medicine, more this, more that, more time. Cost will go up. Okay, cost will go up. So you get a picture like this. Now, how to translate this? Okay, how to translate this into actual numbers that you can calculate as marginal cost? Yang belakang pun nampak tak? Jauh? Susah? Boleh? Okay, baik. Okay? So because of that as well, so we worked out here. In fact, if you work out this one, this extra cost should not be here anymore. Okay? If you work out this already, dia dah boleh masuk ke sini. Ini dah boleh buang. Otherwise, you'll be calculating twice. Okay? So, the next thing that comes in. What will be the number of cases that you can use to calculate this? We start with the simplest one. This 5% reduction is based on how many cases? 3,600. Okay, 3,600. So the way to calculate it will be 5% of 3,600 multiplied by 150. Correct? Because 150 is the price that you are supposed to get for that revenue. Had they come in to you.
27K.
A lot, kan? Okay. The next one, extra cost. You have 3,600 cases. Okay? 3,600 cases. And then each one of them increased by about 6% over the original cost of berapa? 60, kan? 60, right? $3,600 cases. Each case increased in terms about the cost by 6%. Sorry. What do I do?
Do we minus the 180 cases that reduced?
You don't have to. You don't have to because this one is remember is average for the total case. If you took out the 180 already. Okay? You don't have to adjust that. You take it from here. So this will be, you can do both, but it's about the same anyway. So it's about 6%. 6%. Okay, 6%. So this one will be how much extra cost that we need to incur? 1 to 96, huh? 960. Banyak juga kan? Okay? Remember, we are looking for marginal change, not total profit. That's why just now I put as one salah kan? It's supposed to be marginal. That means increase after that threshold. Okay, revenue gain. 10% increase in neuter cases. That means it's 10% of 600. Okay, 10% of 600. That's why I said I have to expand this. Boleh lah. Okay, I cross this. Bring this one up. Revenue gain. Bawa ni naik. Okay. Increase in 10% neuter cases. Okay. So that means is 10% of 600, right? Multiplied by RM. These are extra money, right? So supposed to be the full price, which is 125. How much? 60 times 125? 60 times 125?
7.5K.
7,500. Now you start to make a decision. You notice one thing, this clinic has a lot of medicine and surgery cases. Okay? You forego this, even though it's 5%, you lost 27,000. Here, increase 10%, you only gain 7,500. It also tells you something. You are not putting your resources in the right places. If let's say there are a lot of medicine cases, I think you should go medicine cases yang yang Newton ni kalau boleh singkatkan, yang Newton ni kalau boleh singkatkan boleh. Kalau tak, because every time when you do Newton, you cannot do Maxson unless you have, okay lah, tak apalah, junior vet class of 2024. Semua deal through dengan Newton je. Okay, boleh, tak apa. This also shows you where you can put your resources. Right? Okay, next one. The return per case. Okay? Return per case. Increase by about okay. Charge price higher per case with 6%. Okay, this is increase the ringgit, sorry. Increase the ringgit per MNS case. Okay? So this one is translated as, because your assumption is 3,600 cases, right? So it's 36 times 30. RM? Huh? 100 and? So now you can decide. You could be hitting the right, you need to prioritize which one. There are several hidden analysis here. Number one, it shows you, looks like the decision maker here, the major predetermination of your decision is actually your Maxson and surgery cases. So that means you need to concentrate equipment, you need to concentrate resources there. If your Maxson and surgery cases goes down, no matter how much of uterine cases it can increase, it may never compensate for it. Here, by increasing a price, you'll be able to increase this. And then it also chances are, calculation will show you that this one may allow you to employ what? Extra vet tech. Maybe half a year, a quarter of a year of a vet salary. Okay? Ni belum tolak lagi ni. And this is actually where things become even more interesting. RM14 per case, per pet and accessory case, which is 36. The assumption here is that you get same case loads, assumption, kalau tak sama tak boleh kira macam ni. So if you can get accurate estimation of case loads per clinic, can you see that your model is going to become even more accurate? Okay, chances are we may not. So 36 times 14 will be 80,400. Yeah, 50,400. Yeah, sorry. So it presents you with several options now. It seems, your bulk of income is determined by your medicine and surgery. Okay, your pet and accessories should not be neglected because technically you don't need extra time. You just need to push them. Okay, and it amounts to about half, almost half of the increases in your medicine and surgery cases. So that means you can build a buffer from there. Okay, so total up, how much is the total here for benefits? 75 plus 108 plus 15, how much? RM 2 something, right? RM 2? What?
他在和 Kristen 和三都乘以那个时候，他完全没有改，试试看。
RM
试试看那个是多少试试？
165. Okay, 165,900. 165,900. On the average. Oh, I don't have to remove the cat. I don't like removing cats. Is that the cats? So, this one will be?
15 day.
Yeah.
2,600 is the Madison Security case. Why
Oh,
didn't
sorry.
that the 600?
Yes, correct,
is
correct.
new?
Correct. That's why I remember it's 200 something. Okay, calculate again. Calculate again. I missed that one.
Wow.
Good, good for you to spot that. So, berapa? Should be more, right? 60,000, I remember it's 200 something. Should be more, right? Berapa?
58,800.
Tak banyak beza pun. Okay, 58,800 ah. Okay, this one supposed to be 170 something lah. I remember it's close to 200. Something is missing. Okay, never mind. Don't worry. Well, I don't think. Okay, how much? Berapa? Kalau saya tanya soalan macam ni dalam final boleh jawab? Now you see why you must come to class. Okay. Apa?
174
174.
300 300
300. Ni? I'm depending on you guys, Kalau ni salah, semua salah, I think somewhere something not right. Never mind. You figure out yourself. Okay, mana dia?
39,000.
Apa?
39,950.
Okay. So, your next step is to take this minus this divide by 4,200. Because you want marginal. It may not be accurate, but you assume that every case that walk away from you or walk towards you, you gain that amount of money.
divided by 4,000
Okay? Take this
okay, so
minus this divided by 42. Why 42? By right, it should not be 42. It's 4260, something like that. Because you have 10%, right? Remember? But never mind. Just this is the idea.
huh?
Because there are a lot of assumptions anyway.
4264.
Cara saya ajar benda ni macam statistics, ya kan? Taklah, this is actually assumptions. Economists love to do assumptions. Berapa? How much per case? Is it a positive change or negative change? Yeah, of course, positive change. So you add how much per case? 32 ringgit per case. So it's very simple. It means what? It means by adding all these parameters, if you move, you are going to gain 32 ringgit per case. You nak move ke tak nak? Then you have to ask yourself again. This is actually estimation based on no change in case load. Katakanlah tempat tu ada satu lagi klinik yang lagi hebat dari good brand name, this and that. The vet has more alphabet next to his name. You know what I'm talking about? Specialist in this, specialist in that. Can you fight? Apa ni, belum perang dah mati lah. Okay? So, you have to factor the one in. Can you get that many? But this is based on your assumption at the locality here and the best assumption there. You get 32 ringgit extra. Got it? If let's say you can get, now you see it becomes important if you can do catchment analysis. Catchment analysis is actually another analysis whereby you can project and predict the number of customers that you're going to. Okay? If you can have good estimation of your customer and your footfall that is actually going to go through, then if let's say maybe it's better than 3,600. Maybe it's better than 4,200. Maybe it's even better than that. Then this one will work. But if let's say there's a case number that is below 3,600, your decision to move may not materialize. This is actually where sensitivity analysis comes in. Remember, I talked about sensitivity analysis just now. This one? Sensitivity and risk analysis. Number one, your risk is that other vet has more alphabets than you. Better equipped, more vets, can take in more cases. What is the risk of you? Odds and risk of you getting better. Number one. Number two, what is the minimum number of cases that allows you to gain 32 ringgit? You need 36, you need 42. Is it, if let's say the case number here is 2000, does it still work? It may not work. This is actually where sensitivity analysis comes in. Now you understand the importance of sensitivity analysis now? So there are a lot of decisions. You cannot just base on one. This one is estimating old place and a new place about the same, which we know may not be the same, unless you have a good catchment analysis, which we don't either. Or unless you can poach the vet from the other clinic, say, how many cases you get every day? You know LHDN does that? Lembaga Hasil dan Negeri do that? Tahu tak? Dia orang buat macam tu. Better treat every one of your customers with respect, because some of them could be spying on you. Especially those peculiar ones asking for funny things. I need extra of this, extra of that. If you can provide, ini work backwards. Berapa banyak duit kamu dapat? Because they do not have an actual estimation of what you can do. And they may want to see ketirisan lah, ketirisan cukai. Ketirisan, understand the meaning ketirisan?
我就不懂了。看到呀。
What's his face?
Oh, 国语不好。
Leakage. Meaning that you do 5 cases, you do 10 cases, but you declare you do 5. What happened to the 5? Okay, tak perlu declare tax. Okay? Ketirisan. That's why in order to get accurate analysis, they normally do deploy some random analysis. You're aware of this kind of practice all around? They are actually, not only for our business, many other businesses as well. Normally they target F&B lah, food and beverages. Berapa pinggan nasi ayam kamu jual? Berapa mangkuk mie? Semua tu lah. Okay? So now you know by moving you're going to gain 32 based on this assumption. But there's a limit to it. At what stage does the analysis becomes important? That one, there are actually 4 parts of analysis. I will show you the first one.
这个是你的。
Okay, the sensitivity analysis.
哦，这样没有啊。
Okay, any questions? I think enough today. Yeah, numbers. Yeah.
What is the shape question for the